Oh, so dude, it's cold outside, huh? I mean, who thought spring has sprung? The last few days have been a taste of winter. April in Central Virginia can be very confused. Good show lined up for you. We'll talk some real estate. Real estate, always a hot button on today's program. We'll talk Amazon. Amazon's creating 1,000 new jobs with a new fulfillment center outside of Richmond. You heard me correctly, 1,000 new jobs. We have that story for you. And we ask this question: what are we doing in Central Virginia to attract new employers to the region? New jobs, new employers, and incremental revenue. We will talk Amazon coming to Richmond, but what are we doing to attract new employers to the region? That conversation on the show. I got information on the newest restaurant that's going to open in Charlottesville and Albemarle County, the newest restaurant to open. That story coming up for you on the I Love Cville show. We'll have a debate or a conversation that's really gaining steam and momentum, and that's pickleball and how to integrate the pickleball community into Central Virginia. The fastest growing sport in America is pickleball, and folks, that sport is booming in Central Virginia. So we'll talk about strategies to integrate the fastest growing sport in Central Virginia into the community. We'll talk a $400 million fundraising effort for the Virginia Tech Hokies, a Friday concert series at Stonefield. You heard me correctly, a Friday concert series. And you can sit back at bars again. You can sit at a bar in a restaurant once again. Now you have to be 6 feet apart from your nearest patron, but you can sit at a bar. We'll talk about that. And how about this question? Where will the marijuana retail stores locate once the retail stores start to open? We got some interesting news and some tidbits on that could really impact the cannabis, the ganja, and the greenery landscape across the community. Give the show a like and a share. It's going to be a good one. I'm fired up on a glorious Thursday to be alive in Central Virginia. Tell your friends about the show. Tell your friends about the show. Give it a like, give it a share. Look at the rundown on screen for some topic points we're going to cover. If there's someone you know that will be interested, share the show to them and hit that like button for us. That would mean the world to us. Judah Whitcower is our director. We can get rocking and rolling when you are ready. Good Thursday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love Cville show. Thank you for joining us on a glorious day to be alive. We are live in Charlottesville and Albemarle County, across Central Virginia, the Commonwealth of the country and the world, on the I Love Cville network. We'll talk home prices in a 10% uptick year over year, and what that means for you, the homeowner, and what that means for you, the tenant who may want to be a homeowner. We'll ask this question: the marijuana and ganja stores, where will they open when they're ready to open from a retail standpoint? There's a couple of provisions that are coming down the pipeline that are not being discussed that we're going to talk about on this show. Local referendum on prohibition for retail stores and municipalities, not being discussed. After this show, it will be in the news cycle, but we'll have that for you in a matter of moments after a fantastic article in the Lynchburg News at Advance and a number of viewers and listeners bringing this to my attention earlier this week. So that topic coming up on the program. Amazon has created 1,000 new jobs. They're going to open up a new fulfillment center, Amazon, right outside, right next to Richmond International Raceway. 1,000 new jobs. for the digital e-commerce giant to the Richmond area. We'll give you that story, we'll extrapolate it further, and we will ask this question. What is being done to recruit fulfillment centers like Amazon to the area and the high-paying jobs that they bring alongside the company and the centers? I want to dig deep on that topic today on the I Love CVille show. We will also talk a Friday night concert series at the Shops of Stonefield. The Shops of Stonefield, owned by a private equity firm. This brand and this shopping center is doing its best to try to localize, humanize, and personalize the shopping center. I think the Shops at Stonefield realized very early on that big box brands, yes, they can afford the rents, but big box brands do not command the foot traffic or the interest for Charlottesvillians and Central Virginians who pride themselves in local. As a result, Stonefield gets a fantastic tenant in Hunter Smith and the Champion Grill. The Shops at Stonefield rolling out a concert series on Fridays. They've dabbled in farmers markets or craft markets at the green space at the Shops of Stonefield. We'll dig deep into what this shopping center has to do to survive the retail apocalypse here in Central Virginia. There's a $400 million fundraising effort going on in Virginia Tech. $400 million for the Hokies. We'll break down the nitty-gritty for the Hokies and their quest to raise $400 million. I'm going to continue to emphasize the need for an action plan for Biscuit Run Park. Biscuit Run Park, 1,200 acres in Albemarle County, currently doing nothing for the county, currently generating no revenue, 1,200 acres Biscuit Run Park, currently not improving the quality of life for county residents. We can't go in the joint, okay? All Albemarle County is doing right now is paying money to maintain 1,200 acres that no one is utilizing. I will continue to use this platform to emphasize the need for an action plan, revenue generation, an action plan, quality of life creation for 1,200 acres in the designated growth area. So a lot to cover on today's program, including the newest restaurant to come to Charlottesville and the pickleball versus tennis debate. It's heating up as the most popular sport in America, pickleball, continues to spread its tentacles all over America, certainly in Central Virginia. It's time for the tennis players and the pickleball players to have the come to Jesus conversation. And I think I can facilitate that discussion here on the I Love CVille show. First, real estate. Virginia home sales year over year increased by 9.8%. That means if you bought a home at the end of March in 2020, by the end of March in 2021, that home has gone up roughly 10% for doing nothing besides living in there. If you've owned the home for X amount of period of time, you've got some equity on your hands. And folks, I'm not sure this uptick is going to slow anytime soon. You have no inventory on the market. You have an extremely popular area to live, Central Virginia. You have the ability now for folks to work remotely from ISPs. Many of the opportunities to work remotely from ISPs, that luxury is often with white-collar jobs, higher dollar jobs. So the folks that are able to work now from their home office as opposed to going into their place of employment, these are white-collar jobs that pay well, right? It's not often blue-collar jobs where you're having to punch a clock before you can start making some money. Often white-collar jobs that allow you to work from a computer screen in the comfort of your home office while sitting in your boxer shorts. So this property or this real estate appreciation that we're seeing in Central Virginia, it's not going to slow anytime soon. In fact, I would expect it to gain more momentum, and even more momentum until we can solve the conundrum of supply and demand. The supply is not meeting the demand, and as a result, we have bidding wars and multiple offer situations. The days of finding something under $400K for a starter home, single family detached in the city or Albemarle County are over. I will repeat. The days of finding a starter home, a single family detached house in the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County that it's in good shape for under $400K, those days are long gone. I think we need to start considering the following. We need to either prioritize the land trust model, and you know I'm a huge fan of. We need to prioritize or demand that the University of Virginia get more active and involved in creating housing and or limiting students to living on grounds for more years in college. Here's a crazy situation, a crazy statement, okay? Something for you to consider. If the University of Virginia required or provided dormitory accommodations for students to live on grounds first, second, and third year, that would open a tremendous amount of housing stock in the city and in the urban ring of Albemarle County. That is one way the University of Virginia can create more housing stock, is by insisting upon undergrads living on grounds and university-controlled, managed, and owned housing for an extended period outside of the first year while in college. Right now, you're supposed to stay 1 year. You stay your first year in a dorm. My second year, I stayed in Lambeth Commons. It was a fantastic place to live, but it was also very competitive to try to get a place in Lambeth Commons. You could potentially create more housing inventory if you had more dormitory space, and the university certainly has the financial resources to create more dorms for students to live. The housing appreciation, that's not going to slow. It's not going to slow. You read the tea leaves, you talk to the stakeholders on the residential supply chain, and everyone's saying the same darn thing. There's no inventory out there. Prices are going to continue to go upward, and you're going to continue to have multiple offer situations. And folks, I'm going to straight up say this. I would expect after the spring semester is over, the current semester of the school year, elementary school, middle school, and high school, after this semester is over, I would expect another wave of families from outside Central Virginia flooding the Charlottesville and Albemarle County market, and here's why. Families, say a family in Northern Virginia, this family may want their child to finish the spring semester. And then once the spring semester is over, the mom and dad will say, heck, we can work remotely. Why don't we consider our move now that we have 90 days of summer and our kids not in the classroom? Let's consider moving to a Charlottesville or Central Virginia. So my prediction, my crystal ball is we're going to see another flood of out-of-market interest right after this spring semester is over. And moms and dads choose to relocate to a lower cost of living, more quality of life, less of the rat race. A perfect example is a Northern Virginia move from Nova, Arlington, McLean, Fairfax to Charlottesville or Albemarle County. You're going to lower your overhead, you're going to improve your quality of life, and you're still going to maintain your Northern Virginia paycheck. I would expect more of that's going to happen this summer with the school year being on hiatus for the summertime. All right, here's something that's a story that I think a trend that we should be covering. We all know in a handful of years, we're going to have pot retail, brick and mortar pot, brick and mortar cannabis. You're going to be able to walk in, go in, figure out what you want to get, and then leave. The question is where is this stuff going to pop up? News in Advance, the Lynchburg News in Advance had a great story about this, and I'm going to read a paragraph from that article to you. Here's the paragraph. And the paragraph is about this topic. Where will cannabis retail stores open from a brick and mortar standpoint? So here's the paragraph from yesterday's News in Advance. Virginia's new law contains a curious provision that sets us apart from many of the other states that have legalized marijuana. Even in pot-happy states such as Colorado, Washington, and California, most localities still ban retail sales and many ban cultivation. Virginia's new law allows cultivation everywhere and gives localities just one chance to ban retail operations. They can only do so through a local referendum on prohibition in 2022. If voters do not ban retail sales in 2022, then that locality is open for retail sales come 2024. The rationale is that companies planning to set up stores need to know in advance where they can and where they can't operate, and that regulatory process will get underway in 2023. So here's what I just said in a nutshell. There's going to be a referendum on the ballot next year. And if individual localities, if voters in individual localities or municipalities choose to vote against pot retail through that referendum, then that's the one chance the municipality can say, all right, we're not going to allow it. If the referendum next year is voted yay, approved, then that locality becomes fair game moving forward for retail cannabis. The referendum on prohibition for next year will determine brick and mortar cannabis and municipalities in the Commonwealth of Virginia. That is a big deal. It's not being talked about. After this show, this referendum will be in the news cycle. From my standpoint, any locality that does not get behind the full legalization of this plant is putting decision makers are putting that locality at a disadvantage. Hear me out. Hypothetical situation for you. If through this referendum next year, hypothetical, the city says, all right, enough city residents, more city residents are voting against pot retail than city residents are voting in favor of pot retail. As a result, we will not have brick and mortar retail in Charlottesville. Here's what's going to happen. Taxpayers or potential taxpayers will get in their vehicle, on their bicycle, on a bus, public transportation, Uber, Lyft, whatever it may be, and they'll leave the city and they'll go to whatever county allows brick and mortar retail, and they will purchase their legalized cannabis there, and the 30% tax cut will go to that municipality as opposed to the city. So in that scenario, think about what's happened. In my hypothetical, if the referendum goes against brick and mortar retail in the city, you then have a citizen getting in his or her car, driving on the roads, wear and tear on the roads, creating more traffic and congestion, impacting the environment from all the fumes emitted from the car, driving past city lines into whatever adjacent county the retail is being done, and making the purchase there, having the 30% tax go to that municipality, and then they get back in their vehicle and head back home and tax the roads again. From an economic development standpoint, and this goes with my next story. My next story is about Amazon and 1,000 new jobs coming right next to the Richmond International Raceway, thanks to a new Amazon fulfillment center. What I'm about to say ties topics 2 and 3 together. Economic development and new job creation, and seeing the forest through the trees, is something that must be prioritized in all our municipalities. Creating new jobs and encouraging new businesses to set up shop within Central Virginia, within Albemarle, within Charlottesville, within Nelson, within Orange, within Greene, is going to drive incremental or new tax dollars to the municipality, which keeps the tax burden from being placed as much on current citizens and residents. That's called good governance. That's called having vision. Recruiting or creating, and pun is intended here, the pun is intended, creating green tape for greenery, creating green tape for cannabis is good business. You're creating new jobs, new tax sources, and new businesses to set up headquarters within your municipality that you could tax for as long as they're in operation. Creating red tape for green businesses is just going to take those green businesses and have them relocate to other municipalities. You want to know a perfect example of this? It's no secret that Toby, the owner of Toby's Pawn Shop, it's no secret that Toby and the city of Charlottesville do not see eye to eye. Toby had got a lawsuit going over some of these COVID restrictions because Toby felt that they impacted his civil liberties as a taxpayer and as a business owner. Did you notice that Toby has moved one of his pawn shops from West Main Street to literally right over the city line into Albemarle County? And he's created a pawn shop epicenter. Did it used to be a Ponderosa at the base of Freebridge on Pantops? There's a freestanding restaurant unit. I think it used to be a Ponderosa. You guys remember the Ponderosas? Toby literally went from the city to Albemarle County, literally like 15 steps over the county line to open his business because the red tape in the city was too much and he just got fed up. If you are a municipality and you have a reputation for making it difficult for small and medium-sized businesses to function from a business standpoint or take risk or to hire or to grow or to expand or to get new buildings or to build. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I won't say her name. She's a business owner. She's relocating her business. And while relocating her business, she's having to do a number of improvements to the business. She's going from Albemarle to the city of Charlottesville, and she's having to do a number of interior improvements. The red tape from a building permit standpoint, the red tape from getting the proper procedures and licenses and approvals has been months or will be months of headache. Eventually, by making it such an arduous process, you risk your visionaries, your innovators, your risk takers, your entrepreneurs, you discourage them from opening. And you encourage them from opening in another one that is more pro-business, municipality. Now let's get to the Amazon story. This announced today. Amazon is planning a huge robotics fulfillment center near Richmond Raceway. It's going to add 1,000 jobs. The governor's office announced that Amazon will locate a robotics fulfillment center in the 2.6 million square foot industrial complex that Texas-based Hillwood Enterprises is planning on just north of Richmond Raceway. The center is expected to create 1,000 jobs. It's slated to start operations in 2022. It will be the first of its kind in Central Virginia. A similar facility in Suffolk was announced last year and is slated to open later this year. Has anyone asked or wondered or dug deep into the process of recruiting, encouraging, romanticizing companies to open headquarters, fulfillment centers, offices, satellite offices, whatever the hell you want to call them? Has anyone dug deep into that process of recruiting a business to open in Central Virginia, in Charlottesville limits, in Albemarle County limits, in Central Virginia limits? I would love to see that process be more transparent. I would love to see a targeted hit list or a short list. I would love to see a kind of tracking mechanism that justifies POP, proof of performance. What are we doing actively to attract new employers and, more importantly, new jobs to the area? Who's on the short list of candidates that we're trying to recruit from a business standpoint? How far down the process of closing the deal are we? What can be done to close the deal quicker? What community stakeholders should we bring into the fold to help close this deal? You know, one of the ways we're going to create affordability in Albemarle, in Charlottesville, and in Central Virginia? One of the many ways. Yes, one of the ways is to create more housing inventory. You know what else is a way? To create more damn jobs. We create more damn jobs that pay well, jobs that people can work, jobs that people can work, save, and save for college, save for a rainy day, save to make mortgage payments and cover overhead. That's how you create more affordability in the area. It ain't going to get pretty from a housing standpoint. The inventory is not going to pick up anytime soon. You look at the new construction that's in the pipeline, and we're 18, 24 months away from some of this new construction hitting the market. Maybe affordability in Central Virginia, affordability in Albemarle County, and affordability in the city of Charlottesville. Yes, it's about housing inventory and increasing that stock, but it's also about increasing the new jobs that are on the market, creating more financial opportunity. And there's two ways to create financial opportunity and new jobs. You can recruit, seduce, romanticize, and encourage the Amazon fulfillment centers who have the burn rate, the economies of scale, and the bank account to bring 1,000 jobs at the drop of a hat. And just like that, you get 1,000 people that are able to afford the area. You're making it more affordable. You hope to God that those 1,000 jobs come from people within Central Virginia as opposed to the big box brand bringing people from outside the market. In fact, maybe you insist that a percentage of the hires be from the local Central Virginia market to hedge and to make sure the money stays in the community. You can do that. You can seduce, romanticize, encourage. You can lure big box brands to the area and the jobs they bring with them. Or you can build a foundation for businesses that are locally owned to continue to grow, and as they grow, they hire within the community. Both approaches are smart. I would like more transparency with both approaches. I'd like to know the stakeholders in economic development and economic growth, the folks that are charged with leading the attraction, of new employers to the area and the folks that are charged with creating a green tape foundation for businesses that are locally bred to help them grow and continue to hire. Yes, we need more housing inventory, but we also need more jobs. How much, one of the best things that could happen to Central Virginia, one of the absolute best things, is the University of Virginia stops becoming the #1 employer in the area. Don't get me wrong, I want UVA to go gangbusters. I want UVA to grow and to boom, and the University of Virginia brand to continue to go global and gain more global market share, because that's great for Central Virginia. But how great in the job pecking order, the job creation pecking order, if we're able to slide, say, UVA to 2 or 3 or to 4 from a job importance or job creation standpoint. Right? 1,000 new jobs outside Richmond, courtesy of Amazon and this new fulfillment center. Those are jobs that should be coming here. All right, let's talk restaurants. Yesterday, the governor allowed bar seating to open back up again. You can sit at a bar, have your beer, your wine, and your cocktail at your favorite restaurant in Central Virginia. Here's the catch. You ready for the catch? While restaurants are allowed to have bars and bar seating open again, they still have to have guests sit 6 feet apart. So that's almost a catch-22. That's like an oxymoron. Parting is such sweet sorrow, an oxymoron. Yes, bar seating is allowed, but bar stools have to be 6 feet apart. That's an oxymoron. Bar seating by nature is an elbow-to-elbow business. Allowing bar stools to open up again, but in requiring the restaurants to have their patrons sit 6 feet apart at said bar stool really just opens up 1, 2, 3, or 4 extra seats at the bar. What are the biggest bars in Central Virginia, in Albemarle County? I'm talking from a space standpoint. What are the biggest, longest bars? I mean, Three Notch has got a big bar, Three Notch Brewery. It's got an outside bar and then an inside bar. The inside bar is kind of like a horseshoe. Before COVID, there's people wrapped all over that horseshoe. The bar at Fellini's. Fellini's, if you stretched out that ziggy-zag bar at, or not Fellini's, excuse me, Vivace. Confused my Italian places. The bar at Vivace, if you stretched out that ziggy-zag bar at Vivace, that bar has a hell of a lot of seating. Right? The bar at Peloton Station has a lot of seating. The bar at... What bars am I missing here, Judah? Boylan Heights upstairs has a strong bar. A lot of seating upstairs. But for every Boylan Heights upstairs, for every Vivace, right? There's a Petit Pois. There's a Public Fish and Oyster. There's a Tavola. There's a Hamilton's. Tiny bars. Opening up bar seating, but insisting patrons sit 6 feet apart is really only opening bar seating for a limited number of bars that have the space. Furthermore, if you have a big bar like a Three Notch, a massive bar like a Three Notch, you probably have a large indoor space because you can accommodate a big bar. When you open up bar seating and say you have to sit 6 feet apart from a stool standpoint, you're only increasing the value proposition for restaurants and bars that have a lot of inside seating space. Right? You're only making the advantage greater for the big restaurants. It's no secret that some of the ones that are doing well right now are the ones that have massive indoor space. I mean, one of my favorite brands out there is Three Notch Brewing Company. This business, while not performing at the clip that it was performing before COVID, it's still got people in there Monday 7 days a week. And it's no coincidence that it has a airplane hangar for a dining room. It's massive. A couple items out of the notebook I want to bring to your attention. Stonefield is doing the best it humanly can to try to localize, humanize, and personalize the shopping center. Stonefield is going to start doing a Friday concert series. They're going to do it in that grassy little area kind of across from Champion Grill. You talk about vulnerable shopping centers. The shops at Stonefield are a vulnerable shopping center. The movie theater business is very precarious right now. Consumer confidence going back into a theater, breathing the same air as 400 other people while watching a movie, that's going to take a while to get back, especially with how technology has improved. I mean, how many of you guys are watching, say, UVA football or your favorite football team, basketball team, baseball team, at home on the couch in your living room, on a 60-inch television with surround sound, on a lazy boy couch that reclines, excuse me, with your kegerator or your favorite alcohol next to you, the ability to stop and fast forward highlights or hit stop or pause to go to the bathroom, check on your crying kid upstairs if he's making too much noise through the baby monitor. How many of you are getting to the point where you're like, you know what? Watching the game at home on this big screen with my kegerator next to me and not having to lug all this baggage and deal with lines and traffic and spending money at the concession stand and whether or not my 3-year-old is going to behave? Watching the game at home, watching the movie at home is looking pretty darn good. How many of you have that mentality? I know we do. What's the draw for the shops at Stonefield? The first draw is the movie theater. The second draw is Trader Joe's. The movie theater business has seen better days. Trader Joe's is as strict as any grocery store with limiting capacity and foot traffic within the grocery store. The two main draws of the shops at Stonefield, the movie theater, I've seen better days, that has, and Trader Joe's is limiting how many people can go into the grocery store because of COVID. The two main draws are not performing at the best versions of themselves from a customer attraction standpoint. Here's the next question for you. How many local brands can you name in the shops of Stonefield? Locally owned business. I'll give you a couple seconds to think about it. How many, why don't I put you on the spot? Grab that mic. Judah Wickower, our fabulous, patient, and adaptable director over here. How many local brands can you name at the shops of Stonefield, Judah Wickower? Go to the studio camera here so we can see the back of your head.
Local brands, Grit. Are there any others?
See? I mean, not many, right? Adrian Eckner Photography. She's over at the shops of Stonefield. Adrian, you do a hell of a job. Champion. I just said Champion Grill. Shops of Stonefield. Champion Grill's a local brand. Grit Coffee is a really good one. Mincer's. Mincer's is another good one. Burger Batch started in Richmond, so it's somewhat local. Somewhat local, right? But besides those brands, local brands and shops of Stonefield, think of any? Right? The Friday concert series, along with the craft market and the farmers market functions, concepts they're doing, are trying to do their part of localizing the shopping center. A couple of other items for you. Virginia Tech has laid out an aggressive $400 million fundraising campaign. I mean, $400 million, the largest fundraising campaign of its kind for the school. And it's trying to raise $400 million by December 2027. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of money. Tech has already raised $150 million of the $400 million, and it will be using $100 million of the overall funds for capital projects, $100 million for the Hokie Scholarship Fund, and $50 million will go towards the athletic department's operating budget. Here's a good stat for you. Virginia Tech's athletic budget for the fiscal year of 2020 was $97.4 million, a number that's in the middle to bottom tier of the ACC. Higher end athletic budgets in the ACC exceed $125 million. Good Lord. You know what the crazy thing about COVID is? Virginia Tech's athletic department had a $2 million surplus during COVID. They had a $2 million surplus, Virginia Tech's athletic department, during COVID. Now, they did a lot of budget cuts, salary cuts, layoffs, budget cuts, tiered pay cuts. But the athletic department, in arguably the worst year from an athletic standpoint, made $2 million in 2020 at Virginia Tech. That just shows you what big business college athletics is. $400 million fundraising effort by the end of 2027, and they're $150 million in. All right, let's talk the new eatery in the urban ring. We got a picture sent to us today. Judah, if you can get that photo on screen. This looks like is this the old Jason's Deli spot, Judah?
I think so. It does look like it.
You got that on screen for us?
Yeah.
Look at the screen, everybody. You remember the old Jason's Deli? It looks like the old Jason's Deli, doesn't it, J-Dubs? The new restaurant coming to what looks like the old Jason's Deli location. Look at the screen for those that are watching or listening from a podcast standpoint. It's called Red Crab Seafood. Red Crab Seafood. Coming to the old Jason Deli spot. That's a standalone. That's an island pad, a standalone pad with tremendous Route 29 frontage. I will tell you this. The monthly rent for standalone pads is absolutely astronomical. Bricks Pizza in Barracks Road Shopping Center. Remember Bricks Pizza? It's a standalone island pad, right? Bricks Pizza went out of business. But the monthly rent for Bricks Pizza was over $30,000 in Barracks Road Shopping Center for Bricks Pizza. Now, this Jason's Deli location is not nearly as sexy a standalone pad as the Bricks one. And it's not nearly located as good as a shopping center as Barracks Road. I think this is called 29 Place now. They rebranded it, 29 Place. Let me see if I can Google that real quick. Yeah, it's called 29th Place. It's one of Federal Realty's properties. Federal Realty's the landlord, the publicly traded company behind Barracks Road Shopping Center. So 29th Place is the shopping center. That's not nearly as sexy as a shopping center as Barracks Road Shopping Center. So I would imagine Red Crab Seafood, this new restaurant that's opening in the old Jason's Deli spot. Get it back on screen, J-Dubs. I would imagine the rent, especially coming out of COVID, is nowhere near north of $30,000. But an island pad this close to Route 29 with this much drive-by traffic in a Class A shopping center, nevertheless, I would bet you the monthly rent on Red Crab Seafood is well north of $20K. In fact, I would bet the monthly rent for Red Crab Seafood in the old Jason's Deli spot is between $22,000 and $30,000 a month, with a significant commitment anywhere between 5 and 10 years with some options after that. Closer to 10 than 5. This is a serious freaking commitment. Let's just use the $25,000 a month number. Let's say their rent at Red Crab at this new restaurant, which I keep drawing the blank on it. What was the name of the restaurant, Judah? Red Crab Seafood. Red Crab Seafood. Let's say the monthly rent at Red Crab Seafood is $25K a month. That's conservative. Times 12 months, that's $300,000 in rent for the first year. Let's say it's an 8-year lease, probably 10. Let's say it's an 8-year lease. You're looking at $2.4 million just in rent. That's before food, that's before labor, that's before all the other goods, all the other cost of goods, all the other cogs that you have for running a business. $2.4 million. $2.4 million just in rent, and that's a conservative number. And that's to open up a restaurant in a saturated market, in a shopping center that no one in the market would rank as a top 5 shopping center. No one would rank that 29th place top 5. Saturated market, fresh out of COVID. I don't think they have a freaking drive-through there, do they?
I've never seen one.
Unless they're able to get a special use permit to get a drive-through, I don't think there's a drive-through. So you're spending $2.4 million for a place that has no drive-through. It's not in a top 5 shopping center, in a market that's super competitive and super saturated. If you're driving 29 north, you're not going to probably make the U-turn to go 29 south to get into this shopping center. That just shows you how freaking brutal the business is. Welcome to the mix, Red Crab Seafood. It's nice to have you here in Charlottesville and Albemarle County. All right, I need to continue to emphasize this. Biscuit Run Park. Biscuit Run Park was purchased by the Commonwealth of Virginia for $21.48 million in January of 2010. The Commonwealth and the governor's office rescued an investment team because the housing market went belly up at this time, and the plan to do a massive development in Biscuit Run Park flopped. And the Commonwealth said, here's $21.5 million in cash and tax credits, so you at least save some financial face. And since January of 2010, we're talking 11 plus years, 1,200 acres in the designated growth area has done I won't use the profanity, but it's done jack for Albemarle, for the city of Charlottesville, and for Central Virginia. You have 1,200 acres sitting on ice right next to Wegmans, right next to Interstate 64, a park that could be utilized by 300,000 people in Central Virginia. Albemarle is paying to maintain 1,200 acres, but is not opening the 1,200 acres to county residents or visitors alike, is not forming joint ventures or partnerships with stakeholders to help monetize a portion of the acreage, is literally doing jack diddly with the land. I understand the influence we have with this platform. I want to utilize the influence we have with this platform for creating an action plan for Biscuit Run Park. I want to see Albemarle County residents utilizing it, paying a nominal fee to get into the park. I want to see out of Albemarle County residents utilizing it and paying a slightly more than nominal fee to get in the park. I want to see a joint venture with Red Light Management and Corin Capshaw to create a Wednesday, Friday, Sunday outdoor concert series where a portion of the revenue from the concert series goes to Albemarle County as incremental tax revenue, new sources of tax dollars. I want to see 1,200 acres of some of the most beautiful God-created property in Albemarle County used instead of put on ice and forgotten. Common freaking sense. All right, I'm going to close on this. You're going to start hearing this debate gain a lot of traction. The fastest growing sport in America, and it's not close, is called pickleball. Pickleball is a combination of tennis, ping pong or table tennis, and like racquetball and squash. It's basically if table tennis meant actual tennis. It's played outdoors, generally in a double setting in a smaller tennis court. It's the fastest growing sport in America. It's booming in Central Virginia. And there's a conundrum, or there's a meeting of the minds that's happening. And it's the pickleball and the tennis community. Because there are no dedicated pickleball courts, or very few dedicated pickleball courts, oftentimes pickleball players are bringing transportable nets and setting them up on tennis courts and playing pickleball on tennis courts. This has caused tennis players to feel somewhat threatened by pickleball players. We should get ahead of this. We should create dedicated pickleball courts where pickleball players know where to go and play. And if dedicated pickleball courts are created, then the pickleball players will have clear instruction of where the sport is played, and that will create less traffic on the tennis courts, which will appease or make the tennis players happy. If you're able to get dedicated pickleball courts, you're also able to host tournaments in Central Virginia, sports tourism. I'm playing in a tournament in May in Richmond at this place called Pouncey Park. 700 pickleball players from all over the Mid-Atlantic have signed up and registered to pay money to play in this tournament in Henrico, right outside Richmond. Many of these 700 are staying in hotel rooms and spending money in restaurants and at small businesses in the Henrico and Richmond area. It's time we utilize our resources to their fullest extent. Does anyone find it confusing that Darden Town Park closes at dusk? Why does Darden Town close at dusk? Why do the public parks not have lights where residents can utilize the parks when the sun sets? It just seems to me, and I'm going to close with this. It just seems to me, with a little bit of shoe leather of hitting the bricks and a little bit of common sense. Shoe leather means getting out, meeting people, listening to learn, hearing what they have to say. A little common sense, a little bit of innovation and creativity, a little bit of hustle and chutzpah, and some willingness to work and to lead. It seems to me that we could have a better region, a better county, a better city with some very actionable, clear-cut goals and paths for performance, proof of performance. Get a 1,200-acre park open and get it making some money as opposed to making $0. Do a better job of recruiting companies to move to the area. Because one of the ways we can make the area more affordable for people is to create more high-paying jobs. Right? Figure out a way to get tournaments that are happening 45 minutes from Charlottesville and Richmond to Central Virginia. Use the coaching staff in the athletic department at the University of Virginia, and you position it to the coaches in the athletic department This could be a recruiting showcase for your programs and what it has to offer. And it will also give you, the coaches and assistant coaches, an opportunity to scout players in your backyard. This will be a chance for people from 5 or 6 different states around Central Virginia to come to us with their wallets open, eager and ready to spend money. And they leave when the tournament is over. They won't tax our roads. They won't tax our schools. They won't linger, but they certainly will leave their cash within the municipality for us to utilize from a road standpoint and from a school standpoint. Just seems like common sense, guys. All right, that's the show. My name is Jerry Miller. It's a Thursday. I got a conference call in 4 minutes. The website is up. Check out the website, electjerrymiller.com, electjerrymiller.com. Yeah. Ready to get to work. Ready to get to work. Good job today, Judah. Appreciate you. Take care.